Founded in 1986, the Burnhope Rally has now been running for 24 years, as event organiser Joe Wilson explains.
The rally started in 1986 as a sideshow, really, of the Burnhope Miners' Gala. The Durham Miners' Gala took place in 1926 in Burnhope, when the Durham one was cancelled due to the general strike. In 1986 it was the 60th anniversary of the original Burnhope Miners' Gala, and it was decided to hold an event to celebrate the 60th anniversary. At that gala, Arthur Scargill spoke, and miners came from as far away as Kent. We organised a small car run which was 60 miles up to Blanchland and back, and we had 12 competitors. The next year we received three entry forms from people wanting to enter the car rally, and one of the organisers that helped me at the time decided it would be good fun to organise it again, because in his words there's nothing to it. Here we are 24 years on with almost 100 entries, and there is a lot to it, and that's the history of Burnhope Vintage Vehicle Rally.
Each year the Burnhope Run takes in a route of about 120 miles through the glorious countryside of Teesdale, Weardale and Tyndale. This year's route is described by Joe Wilson.
The route today probably covers just under 120 miles all round. The vehicles will leave from Burnhope this morning. They'll go off and they'll go to the first checkpoint at Cornsay Village, which is just a few miles down the road. Then they'll go over to Rommelkirk, where they'll have a second checkpoint. They'll then cut over to Killip Wheel, which is classed officially as a lunch stop, and they'll stay there for a minimum of 30 minutes and a maximum of 60 minutes. They'll then go over to Allendale Town, where they'll have another checkpoint. They'll then drop down into Allen Heads for yet another checkpoint before coming over via Edmund Byers for the final checkpoint before returning home for the presentation of the trophies and results this afternoon.
From early morning, the cars began to collect at Burnhope Picnic Park. Many of the cars will have undertaken a long journey even just to get to the start line. And while they wait for the remaining cars to collect at the start, there's plenty of time to make a few final adjustments and for everybody to get together and talk about, well, what do you expect? Cars, of course.
Manchester 10, it's 1933. Pre-selected gearbox, fluid flywheel, run very smooth. Right. This is here. What happens is, if you're running in so you start up in neutral. So you put engage first gear, but you're still in neutral. You press the clutch, and when you release the clutch, you're in gear. All right. And then you move up. You move up to second, but you're still in first. And each gear changes just a stab of the clutch, and the same way down. So this was 1933 when cars were still putting crash gearboxes in. So it was way ahead of its time.
Right, it's about the fourth time I've done the run with this bike anyway. I didn't do it last year. I've had the bike about 7 years, boarded in crew and rode it back, by which time it virtually dropped to pieces, and then sort of took it to bits and then redid it. So I've had it about 10 years. It's an AJS, it's a 650, it's a model 31 Deluxe as they call it. Oh yeah. Okay.
This is an Alvis Silver Eagle. It was first registered 7th of July 1930. It's got a 6-cylinder 2100cc engine. The gear lever is on the right hand side and the throttle pedal is in the middle, which makes you have to concentrate a lot harder than conventional cars. It's got a very unusual fuel gauge in that it's a fluid type gauge. It's called a Hobson's telegauge. It was invented by an American for remote indication of fuel before they invented electric petrol gauges.
And finally the cars are ready for the off, and they head out from Burnhope Picnic area for the 120-mile circuit that makes up the Burnhope Vintage Car Rally. Halfway round and we rejoin the cars as they pull into Killop Lead Mining Museum for the lunch break. And after a quick bit of lunch, it's time to head out from Killop for the 60-mile return leg back to Burnhope. You might imagine that the steep fell roads might pose a problem to cars, some of which are 80 years old, but apparently this is not the case. Joe Wilson.
No, we'll expect them all to get back. If they don't get back, they're pretty good at getting sorted out under their own steam. We did used to have a car that we used to send out, or we had on standby to send out to assist them if they needed assistance, but we found that other competitors assist them, and they're quite determined bunch, and they are determined they will get back.
And finally, all the magnificent old cars and bikes make it back to Burnhope, and it's time for the award ceremony. And while everybody turns out for the fun of it, secretly everybody would like to go home with Best in Show.
Class 6, the runner-up with 75 points is competitor number 9, Alan Coe.
Brilliant.
Right, overall thing. Best newcomer.
We've got some follow problems.
How's that? Is that all right?
Beginner's luck.
And so with the prizes handed out, and after a rather long and wet day, it's time to pack up for another year. And so it's goodbye until next year, when 100 classic cars will return to Burnhope to tackle the Burnhope Vintage Vehicle Rally for 2010.